Redditors with real-life butterfly effect stories. What happened and what was the series of events and outcomes? My name's Ryan from AskReddit Tells, and today we're going to be looking at that. But before we do, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share the video to help keep the channel going. I was going out to grab pizza and a case of beer for me and my roommate, but he texted me that he had a stomach thing, so I walked to a restaurant and ordered dinner at the bar and met a girl there, and now we're married and have 2 kids because my roommate had diarrhea. I can totally see a child telling the short version of this story to someone that just doesn't really care, but the kid hears it and repeats. My dad married my mom because his roommate has diarrhea. And that's why they named me Diarrhenus. And that child's name? Albert Einstein. And everyone crapped. Too long, didn't read? I overdrafted and caused 4 marriages and 5 babies. Longer version. I was just out of high school and new in town with no job. I was living off what savings I had left and my account went below 0 without me knowing. I was overdraft charged like 10 times and owed $300+. I went down to the bank, spoke with a teller, and she ended up being a lifesaver. She worked with me and got all the charges removed. On top of getting the charges removed, we also got to talking about my situation, and she said that her son worked at a local restaurant and she would help me get a job. She was a woman of her word, and by the end of the week I was working full-time. Fast forward, I meet a cool dude who worked there. We became friends, I introduced him to my sister, they fell in love, got married, and had 2 kids. His best friend came into town for the wedding and I introduced him to my roommate at the time. They fell in love, got married, and had 2 kids. I also got my best friend a job at the restaurant where he met a girl working there. They fell in love, got married, and had a kid. Right before I left, I got my roommate a job at the restaurant where he met a customer, fell in love, got married, and had a kid. As a bonus, my best friend who I helped got the job repaid the favor and got me a job at a different restaurant where I met a girl, fell in love, and got married. Remember kids, it's the internet. It can't be a lie. Pregnant cousin usually takes the bus at around 5:10 p.m. after work. She was about to hop inside the bus, but she needed to pee really badly and the commute is about an hour long, so she decided to go to the restroom instead and just catch the next bus. That 5:10 bus ended up falling from a cliff. The true chaos theory side of this, would the bus have fallen off the cliff if she gotten on? Maybe a random interaction with the driver changed his train of thought, etc, etc. Edit. Thanks for the AG, Strangerino. I procrastinated one day in high school by watching a foreign musical on YouTube. I ended up trying to learn the lyrics and eventually the language. That led me to discovering the field of linguistics, which I'm now majoring in. I don't know what I'd be doing now had I actually started doing my homework that day instead. I have a similar story. I procrastinated one day in high school and that led me to being depressed. The most relatable one here. Yeah, everyone else is like, I ate a candy bar once and now I have 7 master's degrees and a loving family. Isn't my life so quirky? Sorry about that. I was walking to school and got distracted by a hedgehog that ran into a bush next to me, and then a big-ass tree branch fell in front of me. Would have crushed me if I didn't get distracted by a spiky little mouse scurrying into the bushes. I gave him a dead cricket the next day. He took it and ran off. Godspeed, Spiky Mouse. That hedgehog would later become Sonic. Silver, gold, and so many updoots. Never expected this, TBH, and I haven't even been here that long. The wife and I were having dinner in Hawaii one night on vacation. As we were getting up to leave, I noticed she hadn't finished her beer. I told her she should finish the beer since we paid some ridiculous price for it. Fast forward 30 seconds and we leave the restaurant and are walking 3 blocks back to the hotel. About 50 feet in front of us, as we're talking and walking, we were walking down the sidewalk on the left side of the road. A car comes flying out of a side street from the right and crosses through the street, hops in the sidewalk in front of us, and smashes into a wall. If she didn't finish her beer, we would have been smoked by the car and most likely squished between the car and the wall. We always finish our beer now. If you hadn't drank at all, you could have had an action movie scene with a car crashing behind you as you casually walk down the street. It's only cool if the car explodes. Grew up speaking Spanish, so in high school my mom made me sign up for French. I didn't really care, but figured whatever, at least it's something new. I was a good kid, bit of a cut-up with absolutely zero direction. In that class, I met a girl and we sort of became friends. She got sick that year, cancer. It was horrible. Visited her in the hospital, got close to her family. She passed the following year. French, it turns out, was her favorite subject, and her dream had been to study abroad. Her parents asked if we, her friends from that class, could do that for her. The years went on. I worked every summer to try and save up to study abroad. I noticed the others who had made the promise weren't making moves towards it, so I worked even harder. Finally went for a semester my third year. TBF, I always enjoyed French, but it wasn't a passion. Except that semester, something kind of shifted. Came home, finished undergrad, then got into a master's in French. The whole time my friend's mom is exciting, feeling like my friend is somehow vicariously living through me. I graduate from my master's and then moved back to France. Been here 3 years now, and May 1st was the 11th anniversary of my friend's death. As I type it out, it's not so outwardly obvious, but the entire time it's been so clear for me that she's been on this journey with me. Edit. Holy cow! Un grand merci for all the sweets, comments, and awards. Y'all are really too kind. My coworker has a big ego and thinks she knows best. We had a patient who received home visits. He had a medical condition that, if observed by a newcomer, might cause alarm, but we were very much informed about it and familiar with it. The instructions were that the conditions were normal for him and not a concern in itself. One day, the patient's wife and my coworker seemed to have some sort of power struggle / disagreement about his condition and treatment, and the coworker ended up calling an ambulance for his long-term unchanged condition that we were very familiar with. He was taken to a hospital and while there caught an infection. The infection impacted his eating, and he lost a lot of weight fast. His condition deteriorated over the next few months and he passed away. Honestly, it wasn't unexpected that he might pass, but it seems the specific scenario ended up happening and stemming from that unnecessary hospital visit. At the end of 6th grade, my class took a field trip on whale watch. That night, I saw a commercial for a documentary TV series on whales. Ever since that day, I wanted to grow up and protect whales from being hunted. Today, I work in the military, specializing in marine preservation. Cool, I didn't even know the military worked at marine preservation. My brother spent a career as a Navy corpsman, medic, for 23 years of his life. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. He was trying to preserve Marines from their own stupidity. Everything from bullet wounds and major contusions to heart attacks and venereal disease. As it was with the Marines, I suspect there were a few cases of crayon poisoning and more than one marble up the nose too. The Navy definitely invests in marine preservation. Went to a soccer match on a Thursday night in August 2010. After years of turning down invites from multiple groups of friends, but this time it was for someone's birthday and they gave me a ticket. So I said, what the hell, okay. Fell in love with my local team. I had watched soccer in high school and college and of course the World Cup. But this was different. I rekindled friendships from years before through our mutual support of said team. Made new friends, experienced new things because of friends and team. Drank more than I usually did. In January 2016, I got laid off from a job I had grown to hate after 8 years and a lot of rounds of layoffs. Just waiting for my number to get called. That March, I was getting angsty and bored at home because I was trying to save money while still looking for work, and decided to get off my couch and go to an off-season supporters group meetup, which I usually don't like to do because I'm not good at the social skills. And if I hadn't been unemployed, I know I wouldn't have gone. But that night, I met the woman I instantly knew I was going to fall in love with. Got a new job, quit drinking, finally went out on a date with her 6 months after, and meeting her, figured out I hated the new job, quit that job, moved to her city 35 minutes south in 2017, and have been working odd jobs part-time and doing gig economy stuff. I moved in 6 months later. We had a puppy magically fall into our lives within 3 days of just talking about maybe getting a dog, and it's my first dog ever and I'm so happy about it. Got engaged, got married in December, and I'm so happy about it. She kept telling me Reddit was actually good. I actually just signed up. I saw this post. I replied, "Hi, we also just got a kitten." Edit, proof of cute kitten, dorky dog. I'm alive because my aunt was born. My grandfather was conscripted into the Romanian army as a medic, and his unit was one of the many acting as a defensive barrier covering the Nazi supply lines to Stalingrad. She was born and he was called back to Bucharest from the front. While he was on leave, the Russians launched Operation Uranus, which decimated the Axis forces. He received word that his unit had been completely destroyed. He was never reassigned, and in 1948, my mother was born. I'm also alive because a bunch of Romanian cows got sick. My other grandfather was a pharmacist, back when that meant actually making medicines. He was also a Jew. The town he lived in was largely agrarian, and their cowherds came down with some illness that was killing them. He whipped something up that cured them. The townspeople were very grateful to him. So grateful that when the chief of police heard that the Nazis were coming to town to take the inventory of who lived there, he came to my grandfather's house with some train tickets for him and his wife. They escaped the Nazis and never got caught. My father was born at the end of 1945. I guess this is the opposite of the butterfly effect, really. Rather than one small action blowing up into much more important chain of events, two hugely improbable events are eventually leading to my birth, and obviously my extended family as well. And now I run ads on the internet. If my biological mom hadn't asked her parents to watch me for a couple hours and then left town, I wouldn't have had the incredible and privileged life that I was given through adoption. My younger half brothers were raised by our biological mom, and they are a total freaking mess. I'm more of a mom to them than their actual mom, and I would have been an absolute wreck also if she'd kept me. Instead, I was given an amazing private education, all the sports and musical adventures, and most important, a healthy, loving home with two parents who taught me that just because you share blood doesn't mean you love, and just because you didn't give birth to a child doesn't mean you can't be their parent. Thanks for this. We decided after our devastation over the detention of children at the US border that we would do what we could to help kids in our own backyard. We got licensed through foster care and immediately got a little boy. Heard we may be getting a little girl soon as well. Crazy, hard, amazing, precious experience. Congrats on making it to the end of the video. That would be this part right here. If you liked it, make sure to check out some of our other stuff and even subscribe. As always, my name's Ryan from AskReddit Tells, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.